Welcome back to the channel, guys. I am the Drunken Goth, and in today's video we are diving back into the world of Ferrari owners tips, and we're going to be looking at some uprated parts and cheaper parts when it comes to repairing or servicing your cars. So for a start, we're going back to the world of servicing. Now, the biggest service is always obviously your cam belt service, so we're going to focus on that for the moment. And as I've said in previous videos, the first thing I would always do is steer away from the OEM tensioner bearings and go for these from Hill Engineering, the uprated tensioner bearings. Now, they last a lot longer, they're a lot better quality, and you will probably find they are cheaper than the OEM ones as well. So it is always worth going for. Peace of mind, they are going to work, they are brilliant, well priced, and of course it's that peace of mind when it comes to your cam belts. You don't want a tensioner bearing failing. Next, of course, is the cam belts themselves. Now, while you are usually pretty stuck to buying them direct from Ferrari, they are a Dayco part, so if you can get them direct from Dayco, it will make it slightly cheaper. And when it comes to the auxiliary belts, do not be fooled into thinking that you have to go through Ferrari and pay their prices. You can get them from your local motor factors, from places like Parker's, things like that, and they're a lot cheaper because they are nothing special. So for your alternator belt, water pump belt, stuff like that, do not be led into the trap of thinking you have to pay Ferrari prices. The final thing to say on servicing is oil filters. Now, with 355, 360 onwards, you have to go through Ferrari for these Perflux filters. But anything like 308, 328, anything backwards from that, Testarossa, F40, 330, 275s, you don't have to go through Ferrari and you don't have to pay their prices for the expensive filters. They are nothing special, they are just normal Fram filters, and you can get them from any local motor factors, and chances are they will be a lot cheaper than going through Ferrari or Maranello parts or anywhere like that. So next we're going to take a look at suspension parts. Now, as I've described in some previous videos, the actuators on such as the 355 are quite expensive if you buy them from Ferrari, and they will break over time. It is a common problem, but you can get the parts to both repair them or replace them with an alternative that is much cheaper. So again, do not be lured into the trap of thinking I've got a huge expense on my hand when one of these goes down. They can be replaced or repaired at a reasonable cost. They're not going to cost you an arm and a leg when they go wrong. Next is another one that I've spoken about in previous videos, and that is ball joints on the suspension arms. Now again, you can get the uprated versions when they go down, and they will cost you a lot less in both the part and fitment. But chances are, a lot of the time, it's something that comes up on an MOT and it's just the dust cover that's split. And again, you can buy these separately, you can fit these separately, and that saves you a hell of a lot of time and money when it comes to the ball joints. Again, don't be led into what most Ferrari dealers will tell you, in that they can only replace the entire arm. You can replace these parts separately, and you can get uprated parts which are a lot better and will last a lot longer. Ball joints do go down quite a lot, especially on the 360s and 430s. Any uneven road surface can knock out some of the front lower ball joints. So again, just bear this in mind and go for the uprated, cheaper parts. They will last you a lot longer and they are a lot better. Next is brake pads and brake discs. Now, apart from the carbon ceramics, you can get these quite cheap, again from local motor factors, or I will always recommend using EBC. I really rate EBC for both their pads and discs. They are a lot higher quality, they last a lot longer, they're a lot cheaper, and of course for the purists out there that are going to say, well, you know, it should always be kept genuine Ferrari. No, with things like this it's not a problem at all. And I would always go down this route and save yourself the money and have a lot better braking experience with the higher quality materials. I'd also add that if you are looking to buy a Ferrari and considering the carbon ceramic brake option, don't. They're not all they're cracked up to be, and even the 430 GT3 that we used to run in the British GT race series had the steel brakes on. They're not worth the money that it costs to replace them, and the advantage is negligible. Next we have another one that I've talked about in a previous video, and that is the wheel inserts, mainly on the Ferrari 355. Now they do crack when they are over tightened or break down over time and they become weaker. So again, this is another one where if you're going to replace them with the uprated parts. Hill Engineering, again, brilliant company, they do some awesome parts, and it is just worth paying that little bit for the uprated parts. It is just peace of mind, because the last thing you want is a wheel coming loose when you're doing high speeds in these types of cars. Finally, we have clutches. Now, it's fairly common knowledge that on most Ferraris it's going to be a big expense if it needs a clutch. Now, while this is true for the newer models, not so much with the older models, 308, Testarossa, stuff like that, you can get away with paying not a lot. And even with the 360s on the manual cars, the clutch plates aren't that expensive to replace. But when it comes to the F1 system, yes, they can be quite a big expense. The labour involved involves taking the entire gearbox out the back of the car to fit it, but there are some cheaper options you can go for. There are some aftermarket companies that do make decent clutches that you can fit and will work perfectly fine, as well as, not an option I'll recommend that often, but you can have the actual clutch centre plate re-meated, so to speak. You can have fresh material put on that from various companies and they will go again. So there are ways in which you can make it a lot more affordable. It doesn't always have to be a massive expense thinking, oh god, I need a clutch in my 360 or 430. And of course, when it comes to release bearings, again, I would always recommend going for the uprated parts, usually from Hill Engineering. Well, that is it for today's video, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like on it, please subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all on the next one. Bye bye.